name's Yasmin Elnour, and I'm an artist originating from Sudan. I lived in the UK for about 10 years, but now I travel around the world. I studied architecture, so I was practicing architecture for a few years. I still do practice, and in parallel I've developed an interest for digital collage, which is how I generally try to express my ideas. I started off kind of expressing my architectural concepts, and then it went on to kind of a personal exploration of identity and culture when I felt a bit lost, you know, after being away from home and finding myself trying to find a way of belonging somewhere and understanding more about my history and heritage. So that I started exploring more archival Sudanese items and more historical images and bringing them into more contemporary settings in terms of digital collages on a contemporary canvas. So if I'm doing a piece about Nubia, I like to use trees from Nubia. I like to use the walls of the temples in Nubia. I like to use the sand dunes that these buildings might sit on. You know, I like to use the texture of the River Nile. So I try to find a way to create a visual language that speaks to a place. You know, I talk a lot about women's empowerment and Nubian culture in Sudan and all these other things that are usually neglected or things that are not spoken about. I usually try to lift up those voices and give those types of stories, you know, a platform in my work. The reason I was drawn to the residency at the Petrie Museum is because they really prioritized and celebrate Sudanese heritage and culture. Usually what happens is with Sudanese artifacts and Sudanese archaeology is that it's grouped under Egyptology. So at the Petrie, like, they really celebrate, they really want to empower these Sudanese artifacts and place them at the forefront and not just at the back. So when I felt that they were treating this heritage and these artifacts with so much care and so much intention, I knew it was the perfect place to start further exploring these concepts and themes. For the initial work we started doing last year, I was kind of more interested in the visual iconography of ancient Sudan. That was an opening point for me where I was exploring connecting to the ancestors. So looking at offering tables as a portal almost to kind of connecting with our history and our past identities. So using that and using more like, you know, objects that would have been used in rituals and like objects that would have been considered really significant. So for me, I think I wanted to unlearn even the biases that I had. So I've been used to looking at the grandeur of Sudanese ancient history and looking at the royals. I kind of have been looking at them for such a long time, but I found that I don't really know much about the everyday person who lived in that society, who contributed, who helped. You know, without them, nothing would have even been possible. So, you know, I found a lot of kind of parallels with the Petrie's collection, which is like everyday items, domestic tools, shards of pottery, you know, very simple things, but trying to kind of see and learn more about the magic behind them.
You were just handling some artifacts. What was that like?
That was amazing. That was a really, like, that was the first time I've ever kind of, the idea of holding on to, like, touching something that's 5,000 years old is a very special feeling. You can read things about it, you can see these things behind these glass cabinets, but then I think when you're actually holding it, it just makes it much realer, you know, and you kind of understand how these objects were actually used, how they were worn, how they were, you know, utilized. I think it gives you a deeper understanding for sure. You're definitely much more connected to them. What I hope this would add to the wider conversation about Sudan is that, number one, we were here. You know, that's the main theme that I've been thinking about since the war, especially. Like, now that we don't currently have a physical homeland or a physical place to go to, I think it's important to document and preserve and share our culture and identity with the world, and just to prove we were here, you know, we existed, you know, all this is under threat, but to kind of also help people understand how special of a place Sudan is, and also to continue to inspire the next generations into, again, how special our culture and identity is, and the importance of taking care of that and being a custodian of that as well.